is where MAGA comes to talk. Oh boy. So everything that's been going on these past few days at the Trump trial in New York have really been heating up. And a bunch of things have come out on that and some other topics I'm going to touch on the stream here. So if you're new, welcome. Make sure you subscribe. And everyone who is already subbed to my channel, make sure you like the video. Okay, so Alan Dershowitz, who is without question one of the most respected attorneys in American life today. I mean, there's really no attorney that, like Alan Dershowitz, who's involved in politics and is liked, supported by people on both sides of the aisle. He's a Democrat. He's friends with Trump. He supported Trump for a long, long time. And he not only is on Trump's side, this Democrat, he's respected by the left, has been for years. He was on the O.J. Simpson Dream Team. And he is completely disgusted by what he is seeing. And he wrote an article talking about his observations in the courtroom. And this is fascinating because it's about the time when the other day when the judge cleared the courtroom, kicked out the press, and didn't want any witnesses to hear what had happened. So this is the headline: "The unhinged outburst the Trump trial judge didn't want you to see. Police were ordered to clear the court, but Alan Dershowitz stayed and witnessed the most shocking moment of his 60-year legal career." So let's go through this. This is an article in the Daily Mail that was written by Alan Dershowitz. Okay, so this is Alan Dershowitz is the author of this article, writing about his observations. "The stench of deceit hung in the air as I sat in the front row of a Manhattan courtroom. Seated on the witness stand no more than a few feet from me, I watched in disbelief as Donald Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, told the jury one seeming lie after another. When asked by prosecutors on Monday whether he would financially benefit if Trump were convicted of falsifying business records to hide an alleged hush money payment to protect his 2016 presidential campaign, Cohen denied it. That is demonstrably false. Cohen is shopping around a reality TV show to capitalize on his newfound fame. So you got to understand, Steve, not only was Alan Dershowitz in the courtroom, he's a Trump insider. So all the goings on, everything that Trump and his team know about, Dershowitz knows about. He, Cohen, has admitted to making more than $3 million on anti-Trump books and podcasts and sells merchandise portraying the former president behind bars. All of these enterprises would be undermined by a Trump acquittal. Then there is Cohen's confession that he stole tens of thousands of dollars from the Trump organization by deceitfully overcharging for his services. Now again, this article I'm reading, this is Alan Dershowitz wrote this article about his experiences in the courtroom with President Trump with Cohen on the stand. And we'll get to the rest. "I wouldn't buy a used car from this man," Dershowitz writes, "let alone rely on his testimony to send a presidential candidate to prison. Most significantly, I haven't heard any evidence that Trump committed a crime. The only testimony that even remotely speaks to the accusation is Cohen's claim that Trump approved the alleged payoff to Stormy Daniels during a 96-second phone call. But Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, got Cohen to admit that the phone conversation was, at least in part, about a prank caller who had been harassing Michael Cohen." Oh, this is beautiful stuff. Sorry, guys, I'm in Florida. It's not. Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight,
it's 90 degrees right now. Alexa, what's the heat index?
The current weather is 90 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly sunny skies. Today's forecast has partly sunny.
Well, it won't give you the heat index, but it's hot. It's like the heat index is like 100 degrees. Let me have a drink here so I don't dehydrate in the Florida heat. I'm sweating as much as Michael Cohen was on the witness stand. Oh, the heat index is 107 here, you know, but Michael Cohen was in the air conditioning. But Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, got Cohen to admit that the phone conversation was, at least in part, about a prank caller who had been harassing Cohen. You had enough time in 1 minute and 30 seconds to update about all the harassing phone calls and the update on Stormy Daniels, Blanche asked. I believe that I also spoke to Mr. Trump and told him everything regarding Stormy Daniels was being worked on and it's going to be resolved, Cohen answered. We're not asking you for your belief, Blanche replied. The jury doesn't want to hear what you think happened. Indeed, they don't, Cohen says. They want to hear the truth. Then Dershowitz goes on to write, never in my 60 years of practicing law and teaching and writing about the U.S. legal system have I seen such a weak criminal fraud case. Whether a jury of 12 New Yorkers will believe Cohen, an admitted thief, is impossible to tell. But there is no doubt in my mind that the judge in this trial should not allow it to continue. Instead, New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan should throw it out of court and rule that Michael Cohen's testimony is so unreliable that the jury should not even consider it. You know, and, you know, the thing about Alan Dershowitz is so well respected by both sides. You know, I've had him on my podcast at least twice. I've interviewed him on some pretty big things, and I mean, I've known about him. When I was a little kid, I first heard of him. The Nazis that wanted to march in that parade in Skokie. Remember that? You know, I was a little kid. So Alan Dershowitz, he's been around. The judge has the power to do that, dismiss the case, Dershowitz says. If the charges are not legit, he should acquit. Also, he's losing a little OJ throwback. If the charges are not legit, he should acquit, to paraphrase a mantra from the O.J. Simpson case, but he won't. For even more shocking than the pathetic flaws of this case is the bias the judge holds against Trump. After the defense called their key witness, former Cohen legal advisor Robert Costello, Judge Merchan made ruling after ruling denying Costello the ability to speak and explicitly dismissing his testimony as hearsay and irrelevant. Dershowitz writes, I was shocked, along with the other lawyers watching in the audience. Under the Sixth Amendment, a defendant has a right to confront his accuser, and that is done through the testimony of others. Judge Merchan denied Trump that right by unfairly limiting Costello's testimony. But the judge truly revealed his apparent Now, I'll tell you something. If they get a conviction, they're going to go for an appeal, right? Alan Dershowitz's expertise is as an appellate lawyer. He handles appeals. The reason he was on the O.J. Simpson team was they were expecting a conviction, and his entire job was to prepare for the appeal from day one of the O.J. Simpson trial. So, you know, what Dershowitz is talking about here will all be brought up in the appeal if there's a conviction. But the judge truly revealed his apparent unhinged prejudice against Trump when he exploded after Costello, a lawyer himself, expressed his surprise over the mystifying rulings. Merchan lost control over the perceived slight and angrily ordered the court police to clear the room. I was never asked to leave, so I stayed. I wish that the public could have seen what I witnessed, because I believe the judge's bias against Trump came through loud and clear. Do you raise your eyebrows at me? Merchan shouted at Costello. Did you stare at me? Now Dershowitz is describing the judge in the next sentence. This is what Dershowitz wrote. He sounded like a paranoid schizophrenic, a nut on the street, the psycho in the film Taxi Driver. So that, I mean, that's pretty hardcore. And he, you know, you hear these Trump derangement syndrome sufferers. I mean, he just lost it. Oh man, this is insane. I'm so glad that Alan Dershowitz did this. There are so few people in our society that whose opinions are respected on both sides, and Dershowitz is so well respected. He's not the kind of guy that other lawyers, which include judges, want to be disapproved of by. Then Judge now he goes back to this. Then Judge Mercan threatened to exclude all of Costello's testimony against Michael Cohen from the trial. I was flabbergasted. For one, Costello's behavior wasn't egregious, and he is allowed to act surprised. But more than that, the idea that a judge would punish Trump by denying him an opportunity to present evidence over the actions of a witness is preposterous. It's unethical. It's unconstitutional. That's right. Alan Dershowitz is a Democrat who voted for Joe Biden, okay? So, yeah, exactly. When the last time I interviewed Dershowitz, somebody had made some false accusations against him. He was going through a similar thing that Trump's going through. And I said to Dershowitz on my podcast, I said, Alan Dershowitz, you're the most famous lawyer in the world. If they could do this, this lawfare, if they can do this to you, I'm done. And he said, that's exactly right. You're done. He says, if they could get me, you're done. So this lawfare, oh my goodness. Okay, so let me go back. But more than, let me read this last paragraph again. But more than that, the idea that a judge would punish Trump by denying him an opportunity to present evidence over the actions of a witness is preposterous. It's unethical. It's unconstitutional. Trump is not responsible for Costello's behavior, Dershowitz writes. It was one of the most shocking demonstrations of bias by a judge I've ever seen. So could Trump be convicted despite all of this? Of course he can. The Manhattan jury pool consists largely of people who voted against Trump and don't want him to be elected in 2024. But the weakness of the prosecution's case and the jaw-droppingly pervasive bias exhibited by this judge against Trump will provide him with an excellent opportunity to appeal if he is found guilty. The only remaining question is if a New York State court will accept a request for an expedited appeal, so any apparent miscarriage of justice can be reversed before the American people cast their ballots. I mean, that is just a fantastical article. I did tweet that. If you're interested and want to go and share it, if you want to retweet it or something, it's pretty brutal, guys. It really is pretty brutal. And I was talking about on the stream this morning, this lawfare, it really has to stop. It really has to stop because, if they, it's like what I said to Dershowitz, if they can get away with doing this to Donald Trump, right, a president of the United States, the rest of us are done. How can the rest of us have any hope against all of this if they can go after somebody like Trump? And the answer to that is we have no hope. I mean, if they can get someone like Trump, regular people in our society, we're done. We're done, and that's just the reality of it. And what. I'm glad that he wrote this article because this article I think is going to be, because of who Alan Dershowitz is, a lot of very important, powerful people will see that article and it will mean something to them. It's not the kind of thing that's just going to be it's going to be forgotten. That's a pretty important article. Now there's also some updates on the unredacted search warrant for Mar-a-Lago. And what I was talking about on the podcast last night and what I was talking about this morning on this morning stream was this outrage that they allowed the use of lethal and deadly force in the Mar-a-Lago raid. That is so frightening. Things could have, they could have just knocked on the door and they would have handed them the documents that they were looking for. They would have peacefully invited them in. And Pam Bondi, I heard her this morning describe the raid, I didn't realize this. They also had boats in the water surrounding Mar-a-Lago, and this shows you they think that Donald Trump is the equivalent to Osama bin Laden or David Koresh, or they're trying to create a Ruby Ridge. Now there's some updates here, and this is something. Okay, listen to this. And this, all this information we're getting about the warrant, the use of deadly lethal force, and these updates I have are because we have a real judge who's not corrupt in the documents case here in Florida, Judge Eileen Cannon, who was appointed by Trump, and she got the case by accident. Jack Smith, he screwed up. He's got one real judge in one of the cases, and we're learning about all this stuff. So this is part 2. Yesterday, the redactions gave us the use of deadly force was authorized. This is part 2. Judge Cannon on Tuesday unsealed numerous. This is in the Gateway Pundit. Judge Cannon Tuesday unsealed numerous motions related to Jack Smith's classified documents case against President Trump. The documents included evidence that Joe Biden was ready to have his main political rival, Donald Trump, and his family killed for a publicity stunt. Yeah, I mean, if they were there and things got out of hand. Of course, if any other third world country did this to a political rival, the Biden regime would be lecturing that country about human rights. Joe Biden has single-handedly destroyed this nation's cultural norms and historic precedent in less than 4 years. Christina Layla reported that one filing revealed Biden's FBI authorized the use of deadly force during the raid on Mar-a-Lago, authorized by Merrick Garland in August 2022. So Garland actually signed the warrants for the break-in of Mar-a-Lago that authorized the use of deadly force. It's written on the warrants. But there is even more shocking information included in the release reports. Listen to this. Not only did the Biden regime approve deadly force at President Trump's home, Mar-a-Lago, where Secret Service members are stationed every day, but they also made plans for casualties. Listen to this. This is nuts. They made plans for casualties. The Biden Department of Justice and Chris Wray's FBI notified a local trauma unit to prepare for casualties before the raid. This all came out from, yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, this is insane. How many people, and when they called to tell them that, what did they tell them? They had to be more specific than prepare for casualty. And, there's more, too. This really gives you the mindset of the people that are running the government now's view towards President Trump and us. I mean, this is frightening. If any other judge, like in these other cases, these crooked judges that we have, Fulton County, New York, and all this stuff, got this, we wouldn't know about any of this stuff. Could you imagine? If in these other cases we had real judges instead of partisan hacks that have been bought off or promised things, were giving us the truth about what's going on in these cases, we have one real judge, Judge Cannon, here in Florida. I'm so proud of Florida. I mean, we really, she's awesome. We should freaking name streets after her when this is over. So they notified a local trauma unit to prepare for casualties. So they were assuming that there was going to be a gun battle. Now, what does that mean? Who did they think was going to get involved? Did they think that the Secret Service were going to get involved in a firefight? Do they, they think we're in a cult. Do they think that the Secret Service on his detail are in a cult? Now, Gigi said Ron DeSantis knew about it. Now, that's a good question, Gigi. Has Ron DeSantis commented on this yet? Not that I've seen. What did Ron DeSantis know? And when did he know it, right? The big question about this. Did he know about these things? Now, notifying the local trauma unit, Mar-a-Lago, which is right up the street from me, it's a Democrat town, okay? It's not as Democrat as it used to be, but it's a Democrat town. It's where Rush lived. Oh, man. I miss Rush so much. I just would have given anything to be able to turn the radio on at noon today and hear Rush Limbaugh talking about these stories. Wouldn't you? Okay, listen to this. Okay. The FBI also authorized agents to raid the guest rooms at Mar-a-Lago and terrorize guests there. Julie Kelly reported that more details from the reports that were released on Tuesday that the Biden regime took several photos of Melania Trump and Barron Trump's bedrooms, and they were interested in the binders in Melania's room. Steve Bannon interviewed Julie Kelly, and Bannon asked what had they did to Melania's suite, Melania's room, and Barron's room. And Julie Kelly says there were dozens of photos taken out of Melania's room, several taken out of Barron's room. I don't know exactly what they were, the photos. It just refers to the location. But what? And there's actually, and I'm going to be posting this in Mike Davis's Your Ears Are Going to Be Burning as soon as I say this, there were probably 15 citations of pictures and binders in Melania Trump's suite. This is very strange stuff. Binders, that's the word they use. Now, I know what Mike Davis is going to say, which is what he's been saying from the beginning, that this whole thing was based on trying to retrieve Trump's copy of Crossfire Hurricane's document. So what were they doing in Melania's suite, and why were they taking pictures of binders that she had in her bedroom? But whoever said that the FBI was spoiling for a fight, and that is absolutely what it looks like, and we are lucky that no one was hurt during the raid because they, the FBI, were prepared for a fight. In February, sources close to the high-profile investigation revealed that the FBI's Mar-a-Lago raid was specifically aimed at recovering a missing top-secret binder. The document is rumored to contain damning evidence of Barack Obama's CIA involvement in initiating the Russian collusion narrative against Trump. Okay, now, now if you remember a couple things about this, okay? During the first campaign, everybody remembers when Trump came outside of Trump Tower and said, Obama's spying on me. And that tells us that his personal security, they found that they were being spied on at Trump Tower, which was where the campaign headquarters was located and where President Trump lived. By the way, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe, all right? This is where MAGA comes to talk. My name's Brian. And those of you that already sub, please like the video because that helps a lot. But when Trump was in office, okay, he left the West Wing for a while and went to Bedminster. And they said that they had to replace the air conditioning unit in the West Wing. And it was very fishy at the time. And I had said on this show, right here on YouTube, I said, there's something up with this. There's listening devices that Obama left behind, and it's a search for bugs. And the air conditioning story is a cover story. And sure enough, we found out later that they were spying on Trump while he was president in the West Wing. They had bugs in the West Wing office, and Obama authorized all this with Biden, and I guess the CIA, whoever does such things. And he was president then, Trump. So I mean, these are some hardcore stuff that's been going on. So what's happening? It's hard to say, And what I was talking this morning that there's so many. I know this is shocking stuff, and if Judge Cannon, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't know any of this. If there's a Supreme Court vacancy in Trump's second term, boy, she should get it. I mean, she is an honest lady. She really is. There's so many criminals in this lawfare. I mean, I don't even know if it's at all possible to round them all up. I mean, it's like the whole government. I mean, this is, yeah. Yeah, Michael, I've talked about that a lot. I think Trump should run the government in his second term for Mar-a-Lago. I think he should stay out of Washington. Make them come to him. Don't you? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if you would like to support my channel and all of my content, a great way to do that is to go to mypillow.com and load up. There's so many great specials going on. If you're doing some Father's Day shopping for your dad, your grandpa, your husband, your son, you can find great gifts there. The MyPillow, with my promo code Kane, of course, K-A-N-E, the MyPillow My Coffee is 50% off right now. There's huge sales site-wide. The MyPillow 2.0 is buy one, get one free. And let me tell you that MyPillow 2.0 with the temperature regulating technology is the perfect pillow for the summer. It has that temperature regulating technology that keeps your head and neck perfectly cool and comfortable all night long. You will never turn the pillow over looking for the cool side again. And it's buy one, get one free with my promo code Kane at checkout. Also, the MyPillow mattress topper, 50% off, but you can use my promo code Kane on all the specials at mypillow.com. That's Kane at checkout at mypillow.com. Yeah, these are scary times. Now, another thing on the Mar-a-Lago raid is Christina Bobb, okay, who's been in the news because of Arizona. They got a mugshot of her. They're all excited. And Christina Bobb, who, of course, was at Mar-a-Lago during the raid, okay? And she talked about this. And Trump campaign attorney Christina Bobb, who was, by the way, just appointed to an RNC position, was horrified after newly unsealed court documents revealed that the FBI was authorized to use deadly force against President Trump and his associates during the Mar-a-Lago raid in August 2022. One particularly disturbing aspect of these filings is the operations order. The disclosed operations order from the FBI outlined the protocol for engaging with Trump and his security team during the raid, which was authorized by Merrick Garland in August 2022. And she was there, okay? Christina Bobb was there, and she tweeted, she said, WTF, they were, remember now, Christina Bobb not only was there, she stood up to them. If you remember, when they raided Mar-a-Lago, I did not know it was Christina Bobb. Or I'd forgotten, because I don't remember this at all. But but remember the story that one of Trump's attorneys was there and stood up to the FBI during the raid, and that was Christina Bobb. You've seen her how many times on Right Side? She's very good. And she's the one who refused to turn off the video cameras at Mar-a-Lago. Remember, the FBI wanted the video surveillance turned off, and Christina Bobb refused to do it and stood up to them because she knew they needed to have a record of this. So Christina Bobb, she tweeted, WTF, they were prepared to kill me? A few dozen FBI agents versus me, and they were ready to kill me? What in the world happened to the United States of America? FBI was authorized. Let me pull the whole thing up. I mean, this is insane. FBI was authorized to use deadly force and classified doc search at Trump's Mar-a-Lago court filings, and then she posted a link to the New York Post article. And it's not a coincidence that she's the one they got a mugshot of this week, right? They got a mugshot of her because she stood up to them. That's why, you know. And I was wondering, and this what I'm going to tell you now is 100% speculation, and I'll ask you this. You know, Christina Bobb got arrested. She's great. She got the mugshot. She had a confrontation with the press. I might play that in a minute. I have it here. And she's really well known for being a part of Right Side Broadcasting. Do you think any of you remember when Brian Glenn announced he was leaving and something about programming changes at Right Side? Do you think this Christina Bobb and all this has anything to do with that, or is it a coincidence? Christina Bobb could be, I don't know, she could be White House counsel. I mean, this is nuts. I mean, we're in a place. She's on Newsmax a lot. Yeah, she's very good. I like her. Yeah, she's very good. I'd forgotten about her being. I don't remember her being at Mar-a-Lago. I must have forgotten because I know we talked about the lawyer at the time, but I didn't remember that. Hold on one second. I want to look one thing up, and then I want to play something for you. Let's see here. Okay, now the Trump rally in the Bronx, or Trump, it's says here, Trump is planning to hold a New York City, a New York City campaign rally Thursday evening in the Bronx, the Trump campaign announced. According to the campaign, the rally will be held at 6 p.m., just blocks away from the boundary line of AOC's district. Okay? And this is absolutely amazing. So AOC, let me pull this up. She commented on this. This is AOC having a meltdown, listen, about the Trump rally Thursday in the Bronx.
And by the way, he's doing it in the South Bronx not to make a point, but because he's got court. And the man practically has the legal version of an ankle bracelet around him, and he can't leave the 5 boroughs because he always has to be in court. And so it is truly an embarrassment to him. And I am looking forward to the response of everyday Bronxites talking about how they feel about him coming to their backyard.
Okay, now this is interesting because she said Trump has the equivalent of an ankle monitor. So she is confirming what President Trump has been saying, that this trial, so much of it is about keeping him from being able to campaign. So she just agreed with Trump that he's not able to campaign properly because of these court cases, and she's absolutely right. You know, broken clock. You know, but she's right. You know, I mean, we're in a place right now in this country that I just can't believe it. You know, I talk about this stuff every day with you guys, and it makes the hair on your arm stand up, doesn't it? I mean, it's really hard to believe that these things are happening. You know, and Comey has been doing this interview tour on MSNBC and stuff, and he is on just another planet. This was Comey Today. Is this on Morning? I'm not sure. This is on MSNBC. Comey Today. Listen to this.
What are the principal points of danger within the?
Oh yeah, this is Mike Barnacle, jerk.
What are the principal points of danger within the Justice Department if there's another Trump presidency, given his nature, given what you know about him?
He is a threat to the rule of law in America. To me, that's...
Trump's a threat to the rule of law when they got these phony cases against him.
What are the principal points of danger within the Justice Department if there's another Trump presidency, given his nature, given what you know about him?
He is a threat to the rule of law in America. To me, that's what this election is about. Not about policy differences. It's about what kind of country are we going to be. If he has the ability, smarter than he was last time, to use the power of the Department of Justice and the FBI to target his enemies especially, the rule of law in America will change in a way we haven't seen in our lifetime.
When you say target his enemies, how would he do that?
Well, I think the first thing he would do is he would express it in his first term as a wish. I want people to go after so-and-so. I want people to go after Andrew McCabe, the former deputy director of the FBI. In a second term, he would go a step further, I'm highly confident, and say, I want him criminally investigated. And he was close to the bottom of the barrel in his appointees last time. He'll be at the very bottom. And those are the people who carry out that order.
Okay, now that was this morning. Now let me play, I played this other one this morning, but I'm going to play it again. This was Comey on MSNBC last night.
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions.
That's right,
he knows
he
their
is.
power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters because of a reason like that. People have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
Okay, now this is just insane. This guy is out of his mind, and this tells you the difference between sane people like you, good people watching me, and the deep state. Comey thinks that the FBI is like the Justice League of America, you know, that there's Superman and Batman and you know, and the woman and the Green Lantern, and they're the heroes, superheroes preserving America and saving it from Donald Trump and MAGA. And he's on this tour talking about how you've got to vote for Biden to save the FBI. And he has no sense of where the American people are, nor does he care. Now, he is insane. Now, a lot of you are saying nervous as hell. I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think he's insane, completely out of touch with reality, and he thinks telling people vote against Trump to save the FBI is some kind of winning campaign slogan. I think he's out of his freaking mind. I've always thought he was nuts. You know, and yeah, completely insane. They feel that everything they are doing is saving this country. You know, I use this example so many times, but I'm going to use it again, so I apologize. Only probably the 500th time I've used this. But I saw an actor on TV, and he was giving an interview, and he plays villains all the time, Benedict Cumberbatch. And they asked him, how do you play a villain? What's the key to playing a villain as an actor? And he says the villain, he says, playing a villain's easy. He says the villain views themselves as the hero. So when you play a villain, you got to play them. These villains here think they're the heroes, right? They're insane. They are criminally insane. And he's not afraid because he doesn't think they've done anything wrong. They think they're patriots. And when this bell of this first went off over my head is I saw Vindman, you know, that jerk Vindman, after he was tossed out of the Army, I saw him interviewed on MSNBC, and they were sucking up to him, and he was talking about his life of public service and how people like him who choose public service, you know, these people in the deep state and government that have been doing all this crap against Trump think they've answered President Kennedy's call to public service. And they haven't, you know, I'll make one more movie reference because I probably should, but it is a book too, Starship Troopers. And Starship Troopers, you had to be a citizen, you had to serve in the military. To them, we're not citizens, they're the citizens because they're in the public service. The people in the public service think this is their country, not ours. They think it's their country. And that's their mindset, and it's hard to understand. But when I saw Vindman interviewed talking about public servants and how he's dedicated his life to public service and all this, and I thought, wow, these people are on a whole another trip, you know. Now, Christina Bobb walked out of court in Arizona today, and some punk reporter got like this close to her face. See, the palm of my hand got like this close to her face with a camera, right? As she was walking right in front of her. Did any of you see this? I'm going to play the audio of this. It's insane. I tweeted this video. This is Christina Bobb, who stood up to the FBI during the Mar-a-Lago raid. She just recently was brought on by the Trump family as an attorney for the RNC, and of course she got, you know, they got a mugshot of her this week in Arizona with Giuliani. But this is Christina Bobb with this reporter who has his camera this close to her face.
Get out of my face.
Hey. Back off.
Just like you, I'm in a...
Okay, the back off pal, that's her lawyer who's pretty tough.
Get out of my face.
Back off.
Just like you, I'm in a public place.
You're in a public place assaulting my client. Get out of the way.
Out of my face. Talking about assault. You don't want to be touched, don't touch me.
Back up if you want a shot. You can I'm letting everybody take a shot. Back up. Get out of my face.
Christina, why do you think this was so on the up and up? Do you think this was legitimate?
I'm sorry. I'm wearing a skirt. I'd appreciate it if you'd raise your camera. Get out.
Pretty brutal, huh? I mean, this is You know, and it's going to get worse because Trump is doing so well in the polls. The better Trump does in the polls, the worse this is going to get, because the clock, you know, there's the polls we see show Trump ahead everywhere, right? The polls we see are not the polls they see. They see the internal polls that show how far ahead Trump really is. He's much further ahead than the polls we're seeing. The polls we're seeing are really media push polls. And what they have now is a ticking clock, a countdown to when he's back in power, and they're not. So they're doing as much as they can all at once now, because the time's running out. Time's running out. And, you know, next week, this jury in New York is going to get the case, and there's no way to predict a jury verdict. You just can't. I mean, I remember, I've seen so many trials, not just OJ, but I was talking about Casey Anthony. Casey Anthony was guilty as guilty gets, and she got acquitted, you know? So and the evidence showed, you know, so, you know, you can't predict a jury. All they want is a conviction. They don't care if it's overturned. If they get a conviction in the morning and the appeals court comes in that day and overturns it, an hour later, they'll still call him a convicted president. That's all they want. You know, and whatever it takes, they'll do. All right. Oh, so here's Jean-Pierre today.
Today we announced that the Biden-Harris administration canceled student debt for an additional 160,000 people, meaning 4.75 million Americans.
Okay. Yeah, so they just got their debt, and a reporter today, I'm not sure who this was, did a follow-up. I'm not sure if you can hear his question. If not, I'll tell you what he says.
Then is the White House's...
Okay, yeah, I think you can hear the question. It's a good question. Listen.
Then is the White House's message to those Americans who did not attend college for a variety of reasons, perhaps, including perhaps that they didn't want to take on all the debt that went with it right now, that they feel like in some form they are responsible for allowing those who did not to pay their fair share.
So look, here's the thing. This is a president who has been very clear about making sure that he's building an economy that leaves no one behind, right? Making sure that...
Left behind the ones who didn't get support because they didn't go to college?
I hear your question, but this is, if you look at what the president has done more holistically over the past 3.5 years, he has tried to build an economy for everyone.
Well, but that was a great question. You know, what about all the people that maybe didn't go to college because they didn't want to rack up the debt? And, you know, I went to college. I've got a bachelor's degree, and it took me a long time to get it. And because I went as an adult, and I was working, I was married, I had a baby, and you know, I'd get off the air like in the mornings now. I still got up early, and I'd go to class, and I had to, you know, and it took me a long time, not just because I had a family and everything, but I paid for it. And sometimes, you know, college is not cheap, and the books are not cheap. And I remember I had some classes, one class would have 5 books, and you had to buy the books, and they were not cheap. So sometimes I would take one class. Sometimes I skipped a semester because it was so expensive. And then you got these bums that took student loans, not just for their classes, but for dorm rooms and food and extras and all this stuff, and spent their college just basically partying and the debt gets forgiven. And it's amazing to me that that's acceptable. Why not cancel car loans or mortgage loans or credit card? You know, credit card debt is a killer. You know, I mean, how many people have you known, maybe even yourself, that has had tons of credit card debt? I used to. My wife and I, when we were young and first married, we racked up a bunch of credit card debt, and it was a burden. We paid everything off, and it took a long time. We don't have credit card debt now, but I know people my age that have credit card debt, and you know, it controls their life. What is a bigger burden to people, credit card debt or student loan debt? Why not cancel credit card debt? You just can't go around canceling people's debt. You know, and canceling the debt means that the taxpayers are paying for it. You know, not the government, that the working people are paying for it. It's insanity. But I'm glad they did it, because I think it pisses people off. You know, I think it pisses people off. Yeah, credit card debt's awful. It's the worst. You know, you know, when you're over your head with credit card debt, it's like almost impossible to pay off. You know, student loan debt, you know, it depends on what you do, okay? You know, I got a cousin who, she's a doctor, and she went to a private, very expensive medical school, University of Miami, and she racked up, I don't know, a lot. And she, you know, she's a pediatrician in a private practice. They make good money, but not as much as you would think. And she said if she had to do it over again, she'd go to one of those medical schools on one of those Caribbean islands people go to. It's the same education. They got to pass the same boards to get licensed in America, and it costs peanuts compared to what she spent. But she's paying it, and she's got to pay it. I mean, this is. I'm glad they did it. You know, you look at what this government has been doing in the last 3.5 years. All they've been doing is screwing over working American people. You know, and I mentioned this on the program this morning, and I have seen really no coverage of this on television, and you can tell me if you have, okay? Zelensky's term ended 48 hours ago, and there's been no election. And Zelensky has said there'll be no election while the war is going on, right? And the U.S. government said that there'll be an election in Ukraine when all Ukrainians can vote. Now, how much of, excuse me, how much of Ukraine is occupied by Russia? A big chunk of it, right? How are you going to have an election in the Russian-occupied areas? So right now, Zelensky, is ruling after his term is up, which means is it martial law? But his term's up. There's no election. You know, Putin was just reelected. Now, I don't know how their system works over there in Russia, but he was just reelected. He was just inaugurated again. How are we supporting democracy when the president of Ukraine's term is up and he's staying in power? And I haven't seen really any. Have you seen anything about this in the corporate media? Let me see if I can find something. Let me do a search real quick. Let's see if I can find something. Okay, here's a BBC article. And here's the Kiev Independent. Let me read the BBC. Okay. Let's see here. War and popularity keeps Zelensky in power despite term expiring. Let's see here. While his approval ratings have waned, Zelensky has been able to use his enduring appeal, this is the BBC, along with the desire for stability, to extend his term in office. How do you extend your term in office? You are, you know, it's so bizarre because I'm listening to this discussion over the last 2 days on our news here that they're afraid that Trump won't leave office after the end of his second term, right? He left the White House after his first term on Inauguration Day, didn't he? And they keep telling us, yeah, Jack Posobiec and One American News, though, isn't mainstream, Katina. I mean, like the major. Has this been talked about on Fox? You know, they're worried that Trump's not going to leave after his second term, even though he left at the end of the first. Zelensky, I love how they say this in the BBC, very liberal. While his approval ratings have waned, Zelensky has been able to use his enduring appeal, along with a desire for stability, to extend his term in office. How the hell do you just decide, well, no, I'm not leaving? In peacetime, it would have expired, and an election would have been called. But the martial law brought in with Russia's full-scale invasion means that can happen. And there's broad public support for that, too. How do we know that? If you speak up against them, they put you in prison. You know, we had an election. We had a presidential election in the United States during the Civil War, okay? During the Civil War. And Lincoln was not sure he was going to win re-election. You know, he was up all night in the telegraph office next door to the White House waiting for returns to come in, Okay, that was a time the telegraph was the most modern means of communication. In this day and age, with modern elections, you couldn't have an election over there? Are you kidding me? Listen to this. For the Ukrainians, the priority is to win the war rather than have an election, explains the head of Kiev's International Institute of Sociology. Therefore, they don't question the legitimacy of Zelensky. They just accept it. How do you do that? How do you do, oh yeah, I'm just going to stay? I mean, this is nuts. Okay, this is the Kiev Independent. Zelensky on legitimacy dispute. My term is not over yet, Zelensky says. President Zelensky said in May, in an interview with Reuters, he had to continue serving as president due to martial law. My 5-year term is not over yet, Zelensky said. It's continuing due to martial law. So it's more than 5 years. If martial law had not been imposed, the next presidential election would have been held March 31st, and Zelensky's term would have ended on May 20th. But Ukraine introduced martial law after Russia invaded on February 24th. The Martial Law Act bans presidential, parliamentary, and local elections. So he's now, tell me yes or no, is Zelensky a dictator at this point? Does this make him a dictator? He just said he's extended his term on his own. Absolutely, yes. Kind of, but so is Putin. Well, Ken, that's the thing. So what? Who can? You know, what Biden is telling us is that we are in Ukraine supporting democracy. How do you support democracy by having a guy deciding he's not going to leave office and he's on his own extending his term? How does that work? Can you explain that to me? You know, we had elections in this country in every single war. We had elections during the Second World War. We had elections during the Vietnam War. We had elections during the Civil War. They happened during those wars. We had an election in the middle of the Iraq War, and in 2004, when George Bush ran for re-election against John Kerry, the war was in Iraq was hot. It was on the verge of possibly being lost. That was at the height of the insurgency, if you remember. So this country, we have had elections during every single war, including the Civil War, when the country was on the verge of collapse. That's up to Ukraine, not us. Well, Ken, you know, no, it's up to us whether or not we support Ukraine. So why are we supporting a country that has a dictator in power now? What the hell is that all about? Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe. My name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. No doubt about that. Now, Jasmine Crockett has lost her freaking mind with her recent celebrity, okay? And she just, did you see what she did today? What he did today was so, or she did today was so bizarre. She went and listed her resume, right? Well, thank you. Thank you for subbing. I appreciate that. How do you say your name? Sayan? Sayan? Where are you from, Sayan? Curious. This is Crockett in a congressional hearing today, giving out a resume.
All I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also
an honorary doctorate. Who? That's not like having a real doctorate. An honorary, you know, like if you have a doctorate, you can't go out and like go get work with that. Okay, it's like fake. It's honorary. So, but she thinks she's like a doctor. She's worse than Joe Biden.
All I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate.
An honorary doctorate? Yeah, so does Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's got an honorary doctorate, at least one.
I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol.
The Civil Air Patrol? Oh my goodness. She's a Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol. God help us.
And I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world,
including that honorary doctorate, that means nothing.
My Blackness makes me unqualified.
Okay. No one thinks her Blackness makes her unqualified for anything. However, that honorary doctorate doesn't qualify you for jack, okay? This is what's, that bizarre racist insult she made about the great Marjorie Taylor Greene, and people are saying she's ghetto. So she's embarrassed that she's being called ghetto the way she was talking. So she's going out there giving all of her credentials, including being a lieutenant colonel in the Civil Air Patrol and holding an honorary doctorate degree. That's like the key to the city. When you have the key to the city, it doesn't unlock anything. You can't go around the city and start unlocking crap, okay? It doesn't work that way. I hold an honorary doctorate. Oh my goodness. Jesus. She's just a sad woman. But I'll tell you, yeah, she was stumping for Fannie Willis. Well, hey. They should get along very good together. Jasmine and Fannie. And I don't believe this Fonnie crap, okay? They say Fonnie. That's not how you spell fawn. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, that's how Congress is. These people in Congress, especially the Democrats, they love hearings because they get their 5 minutes on television. So now what they try to do, because of the internet, is they try for a viral moment. And she accomplished it. She got a viral moment last week, and she got one that's not really viral, but, people are talking about it. So, she's really, what she's going in for is to try to get some of that fame from last week that she got with that exchange with Marjorie Taylor Greene. But, people are talking about her. I'm talking about her, but it is not true that there's no such thing as bad publicity. There certainly is a thing called bad publicity. Not all publicity is good. There's a lot of people that I think would agree with that. Disney hands out honorary degrees. No one's given me an honor. I'd like to get an honorary doctorate from Trump University. Oh man, I wish I had a Trump University degree. You know how valuable that would be if it's actually signed by President Trump and you have it on your wall? That would be absolutely amazing. Now, I'd also like to tell you guys that if you enjoy my content and you would like to support my content, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. If there's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the video, and if you're a Patreon supporter, you get access to commercial-free additions to all of my podcast episodes with my wife and a bunch of other exclusive content. So there's a link in the description of the video for that. If you're new to my channel, welcome. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I am the most pro Donald Trump MAGA guy you will find anywhere. And I say that with pride. And if you're already subscribed, make sure you like the video. My name is Brian. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate it.